The closed session of the CEO Forum between India and South Africa was tackling key areas. One is agriculture, second is the pharmaceutical industry, the third one is manufacturing, and the fourth one is energy, renewable energy, and the fifth one we were looking at the growth sector of economic development.
And what would you like to see the relationship between India and South Africa focus on in terms of industry development?
Well, we discussed key issues which are also presented in the forum. One is skills development between South Africa and India, exchange programs between our educational institutions and theirs, especially on the technical side, because they are very advanced on certain issues that can benefit our country. And in particular in the food security sector, they use what we call the modernization commerce, which makes them able to feed 1.3 billion as compared to our 60 million people. So we believe these energies will also assist us quite a lot. They are also in the development of perfection of the development of fertilizers, which we have ourselves. For instance, the ones we have in Richards Bay, they have an interest on how we can make partnerships and synergies between the two countries so that we are able to produce productive food, productive pharmaceutical medicine for our people and run away from chemicals like the GMOs that are affecting the country.
I like that you bring about the topic of agriculture. I mean, land has been a very big issue in South Africa recently, and I just wanted to get a sense from you in terms of how the policy that's under debate of land distribution without compensation will affect the implementation of these policies that you've just mentioned.
Well, land distribution, sister, is very important in one element. We have what we call arable land in South Africa. Something like 12% of our land is arable. And the others is like the mountains that we involved. When we talk about land distribution, we should be targeting mainly on the land that is what we think, so that our growth becomes important. At the moment, our contribution in food security in the country is between 2% and 8%. We would like to see that growing to 20, almost up to 30% by 2040. So these things must be put in place now so that it happens. Now, it's important until we can hear what government is going to finally decide on the land distribution. We have land that is agricultural land. We have land that is city land, which you'll see on your properties. We have land that we call modern technology that is involved. We then even have land that is for wild game, that where you cannot grow anything. But it's critical that when we put the blacks into the land reform, we separate all these issues and understand what are we giving them, because it will be pointless to give a man a mountain and say this is land when you are not going to develop anything. In particular on the food basket, we should be understanding that the farmers that we want to grow and develop are those which are going to be productive. But more than that, we need to start training them to understand what the value of the land, what they're going to do with the land. Because you have seen what we have done in the past 24 years. We've given people land, then we go back and we find the land fallow. So those are the mechanisms which government must come up with. First, they must define the land, separate those pockets I'm telling you about, and then understand how it's going to be developing. That will be a true, meaningful land distribution in South Africa.
And with relations with India, is this something that their government is willing to assist with in terms of coming up with sustainable policies to redistribute this land and to ensure all the successes are met?
Well, this is one element. Remember, we've got partnerships with the BRICS countries, and India is one of them. Now, the reason why we chose India on the CEO Forum is that most of the other ones and the other forums that happens is where they look at us as a market and they want to dump their products here. Here we're looking at serious partnerships. Now, if I can give you stats about India, they've got 1.65 million hectares of land, right? And most of that goes into production of food, all right? We talk about 70% of our agro-processing food and our agro sector that is exported. They talk about 70% that remains in the country. That's what they're able to do that. So we have to have a mind shift. Before 1994, we were like that, but at the moment we are not. That's why we're importing so much chicken out in countries that we don't even know how it was bred, and then coming up with problems like brine, and then we start fighting those things. Because we should be actually be looking at pure, genuine sheep, genuine meat in terms of cattle, and genuine in chicken, because our people mostly eat chicken. So the chicken that we produce in South Africa is not of the world quality. So we must start understanding ourselves what do we actually do as far as that is concerned.
And then also the discussions about South Africa's economic outlook based on the policy shifts that you've been seeing, changes in government in terms of leadership. What were those discussions like?
There is great hope with the new dispensation, and there's great hope in the vision of the president that we have. The president that we have understands the economy because he is a former businessman. So he understands some of these elements that we're going to do. But more than that, we need to get our research institution, particularly our universities in the bioeconomy, to be engaged in these processes to see how can we make the country better. We cannot rely on the one or two institutions that we have in Pretoria. We have to have regional centers, regional schools in agriculture, for instance, that we need to do. Particularly things like water. If you produce food and you produce it with bad water, you're going to get a bad product. If you produce food with good water, then with good land, you're going to have quality food. This is hence you see some of these shops, which I'm not going to mention by name, have higher prices, but they know the reason why they give you those prices. That yardstick of a shop like that must be a yardstick of all the shops in South Africa, which we don't have at the moment.